Welcome to Quiet Universe, where the mysteries of the cosmos meet the whispers of the unknown. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing chapters in modern history, a tale where the skies themselves became a canvas for our deepest questions. Imagine a time when reports of strange lights and unexplained objects filled the airwaves, capturing the attention of not just curious onlookers, but of the very institutions tasked with safeguarding our reality. This is the story of Project Blue Book, the government's attempt to unravel the truth behind the sightings that stirred a nation and sparked a debate that still resonates today. So, sit back, let your curiosity take flight, and join us as we explore the files that could hold the key to understanding the unknown. Project Blue Book was a significant and highly secretive undertaking by the United States Air Force aimed at investigating unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Launched in 1952, the project sought to determine if these mysterious sightings posed a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze the data collected. The roots of Project Blue Book can be traced back to the growing post-World War II interest in UFOs, spurred by reports of strange objects in the sky. This era, particularly marked by the 1947 Roswell incident and Kenneth Arnold's sighting of flying objects near Mount Rainier, sparked widespread public and military curiosity, leading to the establishment of official investigations. The project was not the first of its kind. It followed earlier efforts such as Project Sign in 1947 and Project Grudge in 1949, both of which attempted to grapple with the influx of UFO reports. However, where Project Sign leaned towards the extraterrestrial hypothesis and Project Grudge was skeptical to the point of dismissiveness, Project Blue Book aimed to strike a balance, combining rigorous scientific analysis with a more neutral stance. Under the leadership of Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, Project Blue Book became the most well-known and extensive investigation into UFO phenomena. Ruppelt, known for coining the term UFO itself, sought to elevate the study above the often sensationalist and dismissive treatment it received in the media. His approach was methodical, involving consultations with scientists and experts to evaluate sightings. During its operation, the project investigated thousands of cases, classifying them based on the likelihood of being explained by conventional means. Many of these cases were attributed to misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, astronomical phenomena, or hoaxes. Despite this, a small percentage of the cases remained unexplained, fueling speculation about the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors. These unresolved cases were the source of much debate and public interest, often leading to accusations that the government was hiding the truth. The famous Washington D.C. UFO incident of 1952, where multiple unidentified objects were seen and tracked on radar over the nation's capital, added to the intrigue and urgency of the project. Despite radar evidence and the sighting by credible witnesses, including military personnel, the phenomenon was officially attributed to temperature inversions, a conclusion that many found unsatisfactory. The public's fascination with UFOs was matched by the skepticism of much of the scientific community. Figures such as Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who initially served as a scientific consultant to debunk sightings, eventually became more open to the possibility that some UFOs might represent something truly unexplained. Hynek's evolution in thinking, from skeptic to advocate for serious scientific study of UFOs, is one of the more intriguing aspects of Project Blue Book's legacy. By the time Project Blue Book was officially terminated in 1969, it had investigated over 12,000 reported UFO sightings. The final report concluded that most of these sightings could be explained by natural or man-made phenomena, and that none of the unexplained sightings represented a threat to national security or evidence of extraterrestrial technology. This conclusion did little to quell public curiosity or suspicion. In fact, the closure of Project Blue Book only fueled further speculation that the government was covering up the truth. The legacy of Project Blue Book lives on, not only in the numerous books, documentaries, and fictional adaptations it inspired, but also in the ongoing debate about the existence of UFOs and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The files from Project Blue Book were declassified in the 1970s, making them available to the public and scholars who continue to study them for insights. Even decades later, the fascination with UFOs persists, as evidenced by recent government interest in unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, a modern term that echoes the language and concerns of the Blue Book era. In the end, Project Blue Book represents a complex chapter in the history of American military and scientific inquiry. It embodies the tension between skepticism and belief, between secrecy and transparency, and between the desire for scientific rigor and the public's yearning for answers to one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. In the aftermath of World War II, The world was still coming to terms with the incredible technological advances that had emerged during the conflict. The skies, once a domain of wonder and exploration, had become arenas of war, where machines of incredible power and speed ruled. But as the dust of war settled, a new kind of mystery began to take shape in the vast expanse above. Strange objects, often moving with speeds and maneuverability beyond anything known, started to be reported by ordinary citizens, pilots, and military personnel alike. These sightings were unsettling, stirring a mix of fear, curiosity, and skepticism. What were these objects? Were they secret weapons from another nation, natural phenomena, or something entirely beyond the grasp of human understanding? The US government could not ignore these reports. The Cold War was in its early stages, and the idea that these objects could be Soviet aircraft or some other kind of threat to national security was a serious concern. It was in this climate of uncertainty and heightened vigilance that the US Air Force initiated a series of projects to investigate these sightings. The first was Project Sign, established in 1947, which was soon followed by Project Grudge in 1949. These early efforts were attempts to understand the phenomena, but they were hampered by a lack of clear direction and conflicting opinions among the investigators. Some believed that the objects were extraterrestrial in origin, while others dismissed them as misidentifications or psychological phenomena. As reports of UFO sightings continued to flood in, there was a growing recognition that a more organized and systematic approach was needed. The Air Force needed to separate credible reports from the frivolous to discern whether these sightings were a matter of national security or simply the product of overactive imaginations. Thus, in 1952, Project Blue Book was born. Unlike its predecessors, Project Blue Book was given a more structured and scientific mandate. The aim was to collect, analyze, and catalog the numerous UFO reports pouring in from across the country. This was no small task. The era was one of heightened anxiety, not just because of the Cold War, but also because of a collective awareness that humanity was on the brink of something unknown. Whether that was a new stage of technological advancement or an encounter with something truly otherworldly. Leading Project Blue Book was Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, a man whose methodical approach and open-mindedness made him uniquely suited for the task. Ruppelt was not someone who would easily succumb to hysteria or sensationalism. Instead, he sought to apply rigorous scientific methods to the investigation of UFOs, recognizing that these phenomena, whatever they might be, deserved serious and sober analysis. Under his leadership, Project Blue Book began to collect and scrutinize thousands of reports. Some of these reports were easily explainable: weather balloons, misidentified aircraft, and celestial bodies. But others were not so easily dismissed. It was these unexplained cases that captivated the public's imagination and kept the project moving forward. As the years went on, Project Blue Book became more than just an investigation. It became a symbol of the government's attempt to grapple with the unknown. The origins of the project are rooted in a time of intense global tension, a time when the boundaries of human knowledge were being pushed to their limits. In many ways, Project Blue Book was a response to a world that was rapidly changing, a world where the mysteries of the sky seemed to reflect the deeper uncertainties of the human condition. The project was not just about UFOs. It was about confronting the limits of what we know and facing the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. Project Blue Book, from its inception, was a reflection of humanity's struggle to understand its place in a vast and mysterious cosmos. It was born out of a genuine need to protect and to understand, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity that has always been part of the human experience. The origins of Project Blue Book are not just about the study of UFOs. They are about the quest for knowledge, the fear of the unknown, and the hope that by understanding what lies beyond our world, we might better understand ourselves. In the late 1940s, as the world was just beginning to emerge from the shadow of World War II, there was an unsettling sense that something strange was happening in the skies. Pilots, both military and civilian, started reporting sightings of strange, unexplained objects that moved in ways no known aircraft could. These reports were not just the stuff of wild imagination. They came from experienced aviators and trained observers who had no reason to fabricate such tales. The government, particularly the newly established US Air Force, could not afford to ignore these accounts, especially in a time when the threat of Soviet aggression loomed large over every strategic decision. The fear that these sightings could be linked to some new, advanced technology, potentially a Soviet breakthrough, made it imperative to investigate further. The first formal attempt to address these concerns came in 1947 with the creation of Project Sign. This project was the Air Force's initial response to the increasing number of UFO reports. Project Sign was born out of a genuine concern that these unidentified flying objects might represent a threat to national security. The team assembled for Project Sign was a group of serious, dedicated individuals tasked with the daunting job of determining what these mysterious objects could be. The project operated under an atmosphere of intense secrecy, driven by the high stakes of the Cold War and the fear that the U.S. might be dealing with something far more advanced than its own technology. From the outset, Project Sign was torn between two schools of thought. On one side were those who believed that the sightings might be evidence of extraterrestrial technology, a possibility that, while far-fetched, could not be entirely ruled out given the strange behavior of these objects. On the other side were the skeptics, who argued that the sightings were likely to be misidentifications of conventional aircraft or natural phenomena. This internal conflict reflected a broader tension in society, as people grappled with the possibility that humanity might not be alone in the universe. Despite its ambitious goals, Project Sign struggled with a lack of consensus and clear direction. Reports continued to pour in, and the team found itself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of sightings and the variety of explanations that each case required. The project's final report, known as the Estimate of the Situation, famously leaned toward the extraterrestrial hypothesis, a conclusion that was controversial and ultimately rejected by Air Force leadership. This rejection led to the dissolution of Project Sign and the creation of a new initiative, Project Grudge, in 1949. Project Grudge took a decidedly different approach. Where Project Sign had entertained the possibility of extraterrestrial origins, Project Grudge was marked by a deep skepticism and a determination to explain away UFO sightings using conventional means. The shift in attitude was reflective of a broader desire within the military to maintain control over the narrative surrounding UFOs. The idea that these sightings could be otherworldly was deemed too unsettling, too destabilizing, especially in a time when the public's trust in government institutions was paramount. Under Project Grudge, the focus was on debunking and dismissing UFO reports. Investigators were instructed to find plausible explanations, no matter how tenuous, for each sighting. Many of the reports that had previously baffled Project Sign were now attributed to weather balloons, birds, or optical illusions. This approach, however, did little to quell public curiosity or suspicion. In fact, it often had the opposite effect, as people began to feel that the government was hiding something. The dismissive attitude of Project Grudge only served to fuel the growing belief that the truth about UFOs was being deliberately obscured. For those involved in Project Grudge, the work was often frustrating. The pressure to find mundane explanations for extraordinary events was immense, and it led to a sense of dissatisfaction among some of the investigators, who felt that the phenomenon deserved more serious study. The project ultimately failed to address the deeper questions that had driven its predecessor, leaving many of the most intriguing cases unresolved. This failure, coupled with the public's enduring interest in UFOs, set the stage for the creation of Project Blue Book, a more structured and long-term investigation that would take up the mantle of its predecessors, striving to bring clarity to one of the most perplexing mysteries of the modern age. In looking back at Project Sign and Project Grudge, it becomes clear that these early efforts were more than just military exercises. They were reflections of a society struggling to understand the unknown. They captured the anxieties of a post-war world, a world where the boundaries of human knowledge were constantly being challenged. These projects, with all their flaws and contradictions, laid the groundwork for the more comprehensive investigations that would follow, embodying the human drive to seek answers, even when those answers seemed just out of reach. When Captain Edward J. Ruppelt took charge of Project Blue Book in 1952, he brought with him a refreshing approach that was a stark contrast to the chaotic and often dismissive attitudes of the project's predecessors. Ruppelt was not only a skilled officer with a strong background in aeronautical engineering, but he was also a man of integrity, deeply committed to getting to the bottom of the UFO phenomenon with a clear, open mind. His leadership marked a pivotal moment in the history of UFO investigations, as he sought to elevate the project from a mere bureaucratic exercise to a serious scientific inquiry. Ruppelt recognized that previous efforts to investigate UFOs had been hampered by a lack of organization and a tendency to dismiss sightings without proper investigation. He understood that the subject was complex and that it required a methodical approach, free from preconceived notions. This was a time when reports of strange objects in the sky were often met with ridicule or fear, but Ruppelt knew that if any progress was to be made, the project needed to be handled with both skepticism and genuine curiosity. He believed in the importance of giving each report the attention it deserved, whether it came from a military pilot or a civilian farmer. Under Ruppelt's leadership, Project Blue Book adopted a more structured and disciplined approach. He streamlined the process of collecting and analyzing reports, introducing standardized forms and procedures to ensure that each case was evaluated consistently. Ruppelt also sought out the expertise of scientists, radar specialists, and other professionals, recognizing that a multidisciplinary approach was necessary to tackle the wide range of phenomena being reported. His efforts to involve scientific consultants, including the initially skeptical Dr. J. Allen Hynek, demonstrated his commitment to a rigorous, evidence-based investigation. What set Ruppelt apart was his ability to navigate the delicate balance between the military's need for confidentiality and the public's growing demand for transparency. He was acutely aware that the subject of UFOs was a lightning rod for public interest, and he worked to ensure that Project Blue Book maintained credibility both within the Air Force and with the general public. Ruppelt was not one to be swayed by sensationalism or hysteria. He was level-headed, focused on finding the truth, no matter where it might lead. His professionalism earned him respect, even from those who might have been inclined to dismiss the whole endeavor as fanciful. One of Ruppelt's most significant contributions was his emphasis on the importance of terminology. He is credited with coining the term UFO, unidentified flying object, a term that was deliberately chosen to be neutral and free from the preconceived notions associated with terms like flying saucer or alien spacecraft. This seemingly small change had a profound impact on how the phenomenon was perceived, both within the military and by the public. It allowed for a more objective discussion of the sightings, removing some of the stigma and allowing investigators to focus on the evidence without being immediately dismissed as cranks or believers in little green men. Despite his dedication, Ruppelt faced significant challenges during his tenure. The political and military pressures surrounding the project were immense, and there were times when he had to contend with both internal and external skepticism. Yet, he remained steadfast in his commitment to conducting a thorough and unbiased investigation. Ruppelt was not one to jump to conclusions, but he also did not shy away from acknowledging when a case remained unexplained. This honest approach was rare and refreshing, especially in a field so often clouded by speculation and conjecture. Ruppelt's time as the head of Project Blue Book was relatively short, lasting only until 1953, but his impact was lasting. After leaving the Air Force, he continued to advocate for a rational approach to the study of UFOs, even writing a book about his experiences that provided an insider's perspective on the challenges and complexities of the project. His leadership was a crucial chapter in the story of UFO investigations, one that demonstrated that even in the face of uncertainty and mystery, it was possible to pursue the truth with clarity, integrity, and a respect for the unknown. Ruppelt's legacy is one of measured inquiry, a reminder that the search for answers, no matter how elusive, is always worth pursuing with an open mind and a steady hand. The world after World War II was filled with a mixture of hope, tension, and rapid technological change. As the Cold War began to loom over global affairs, something else began to occupy the minds of many people: strange, unexplained objects in the sky. These UFO sightings were not isolated incidents. They came from all corners of the world, reported by people from all walks of life. Pilots with years of experience, farmers tending their fields, and even military personnel trained to recognize every type of aircraft were among those who reported seeing things that defied explanation. These sightings were often described with a sense of awe and, at times, fear. The objects were unlike anything known: metallic discs, glowing orbs, and silent, fast-moving shapes that seemed to dance across the sky with an agility that no human-made craft could match. For the individuals who witnessed these phenomena, the experience was deeply unsettling. Many were reluctant to come forward, fearing ridicule or disbelief. But for those who did report what they saw, the descriptions were often strikingly similar. The reports described objects that moved at incredible speeds, made abrupt changes in direction, and sometimes hovered silently before darting off at impossible angles. The military and government, initially dismissive, soon realized that they could not simply ignore these reports, especially when they came from credible sources such as experienced pilots and radar operators. These were not just tales of fantasy, but accounts from people trained to observe and report accurately. The process of investigating these sightings was complex and often frustrating. Each report had to be scrutinized carefully, with investigators looking for any possible explanation, from the mundane to the extraordinary. Sometimes the answer was simple: a weather balloon caught in a jet stream, a misidentified planet, or a flock of birds illuminated in an unusual way. But there were other cases that refused to be so easily explained. These were the cases that kept investigators up at night, the ones that defied all logical explanations and left even the most skeptical among them wondering what they had stumbled upon. As the investigations continued, patterns began to emerge. Some sightings clustered around specific geographic locations, leading to speculation about what might be attracting these mysterious objects. Others seemed to coincide with significant events, such as military exercises or missile tests, raising questions about whether these objects were some sort of advanced technology, either foreign or, perhaps, from beyond Earth. The more the investigators looked, the more they realized just how little they truly understood about what was happening in the skies. The human element of these investigations was always present. The witnesses, often shaken by what they had seen, wanted answers, and the investigators, who were trained to deal with concrete facts and data, found themselves grappling with the unknown. There were moments of excitement when a sighting seemed to offer a breakthrough, and moments of frustration when a promising lead turned out to be just another false alarm. But through it all, the sense that something extraordinary was happening kept the investigations moving forward. The sightings themselves became a mirror of the times, reflecting the anxieties and hopes of a world in transition. In a sense, the investigations into UFOs were as much about understanding humanity's place in the universe as they were about identifying the objects in the sky. For some, the idea that these sightings might represent visitors from another world was terrifying, a challenge to everything they thought they knew. For others, it was a tantalizing possibility, a sign that there was more to the universe than humanity had yet discovered. The stories of those who witnessed UFOs and the efforts of those who investigated them are a testament to the enduring human desire to seek out the truth, no matter how elusive it might be. These sightings and investigations were not just about solving a mystery. They were about confronting the limits of human understanding and daring to look beyond them. Each sighting, each report, was a small piece of a much larger puzzle, one that continues to captivate and challenge us to this day. As reports of UFO sightings continued to flow into Project Blue Book, the task of classifying these cases became an essential part of the investigation process. Each sighting had to be meticulously examined, with every detail scrutinized to determine whether it could be explained by known phenomena or if it remained shrouded in mystery. The classification of these cases was not just a bureaucratic exercise. It was a reflection of the complex and often frustrating reality of investigating the unknown. For many involved in the project, the classification process began with a simple question. Was there a plausible, conventional explanation for what had been seen? Investigators would comb through each report, comparing descriptions to known aircraft, natural occurrences, and even celestial bodies. A sighting that could be attributed to a weather balloon, a rare atmospheric condition, or a planet shining brightly in the night sky would be categorized as explained. These explanations brought a sense of relief, not just because they provided answers, but because they reinforced the idea that the world was still understandable, that there were rational explanations for most things, even those that initially seemed strange. But not all cases were so easily resolved. Some reports defied all conventional explanations, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. These were the unexplained cases, the ones that hung in the air like a puzzle waiting to be solved. These cases often involved multiple witnesses, radar confirmation, or physical evidence, making them difficult to dismiss. For the investigators, these cases were both a source of fascination and frustration. They were the ones that kept people awake at night, wondering if they were glimpsing something truly extraordinary, something that might change our understanding of the world. The human element of classifying these cases was always present. For the witnesses, having their sighting labeled as unexplained could be both validating and unsettling. It meant that what they had seen was not just a trick of the light or a mundane occurrence, but something that even the experts could not explain. For the investigators, each unexplained case was a reminder of the limits of human knowledge, a challenge to the belief that everything could be understood if only enough effort and expertise were applied. As the number of unexplained cases grew, so did the sense that there was something out there that eluded easy categorization. These cases were not just anomalies. They were a call to look deeper, to consider possibilities that might once have been dismissed as too far-fetched. The unexplained cases were the ones that sparked debates, fueled speculation, and kept the public's imagination alive. They were a testament to the idea that, even in a world dominated by science and technology, there were still mysteries that defied explanation. Yet, for all the intrigue surrounding the unexplained cases, the bulk of the work involved in Project Blue Book was dedicated to finding those conventional explanations, to bringing clarity to what at first seemed mysterious. This process was not just about categorizing sightings. It was about reaffirming the belief that the world was, for the most part, knowable. The cases that could be explained were like pieces of a puzzle falling into place, bringing order to what might otherwise have been chaos. The classification of cases in Project Blue Book was, in the end, a reflection of the broader human experience. The constant push and pull between the known and the unknown, the explained and the unexplained. It was a reminder that, while we have made incredible strides in understanding the world around us, there are still moments when the universe reveals itself to be more mysterious than we can comprehend. And in those moments, we are faced with the choice to either accept the limits of our understanding or to keep searching for answers, no matter how elusive they may be. In the heat of the New Mexico summer in 1947, something happened near the quiet town of Roswell that would stir imaginations and debates for decades to come. A rancher named Mac Brazel was tending his sheep after a night of intense thunderstorms when he stumbled upon a field strewn with unusual debris. The materials he found were baffling, thin, metallic fragments that were extraordinarily lightweight, yet seemingly indestructible, along with pieces that resembled nothing he had ever seen before. Confused and intrigued, Brazel gathered some of these strange items and decided to consult the local authorities. He brought the debris to Sheriff George Wilcox in Roswell, who, equally perplexed, reached out to the nearby Roswell Army Airfield. The military base dispatched Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, to investigate the findings. When Marcel examined the debris, he was struck by its peculiar qualities. According to later accounts, he couldn't dent the metal with a hammer and noticed symbols on some pieces that resembled hieroglyphics. Believing they might have significant importance, Marcel collected as much of the material as he could and returned to the base. Initially, the military seemed to confirm the extraordinary nature of the find. The Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they had recovered a flying disc from a ranch near Roswell. The local newspaper ran headlines announcing that the Army had captured a UFO, and the news spread rapidly. For a brief moment, it seemed as though a monumental discovery had been made, one that could alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. However, almost as quickly as the story broke, the official narrative changed. The military retracted their initial statement, claiming instead that the debris was from a crashed weather balloon. To substantiate this new explanation, they presented pieces of a weather balloon to the press, and the story was largely put to rest in the public eye. But for those directly involved, and for a growing number of curious observers, the sudden shift in the story raised suspicions. Major Marcel, years later, expressed doubts about the weather balloon explanation. He maintained that the materials he recovered were not from any balloon or aircraft known at the time. His statements rekindled interest in the incident, leading to further investigations and a resurgence of public fascination in the 1970s and beyond. Witnesses began to come forward with additional claims. Some spoke of a larger crash site, others of bodies recovered alongside the wreckage. These accounts varied in detail but shared a common thread: the belief that the government was concealing the truth about what really happened in Roswell. For the residents of Roswell, the incident became an indelible part of their community's identity. What was once a small, unassuming town became a focal point for UFO enthusiasts, researchers, and tourists from around the world. Local businesses embraced the interest, with museums, gift shops, and annual festivals celebrating the mystery that put Roswell on the map. The incident sparked countless books, documentaries, and films, each exploring different facets and theories about what might have occurred. The U.S. government, responding to the enduring speculation, released reports in the 1990s offering new explanations. They stated that the debris was likely from Project Mogul, a classified program involving high-altitude balloons equipped to detect sound waves from potential Soviet nuclear tests. According to these reports, the secrecy of the project at the time necessitated the initial misinformation. They also suggested that accounts of recovered alien bodies might have been conflated with stories about crash test dummies used in military experiments. Despite these official explanations, many people remained unconvinced. The inconsistencies and reversals in the government's accounts only fueled further doubt. For those who believed that something extraordinary happened, no amount of official reporting could erase the sense that crucial details were being withheld. The incident tapped into a deeper vein of skepticism toward governmental authority, especially concerning matters of national security and secrecy. The Roswell incident is more than a tale about a potential UFO crash. It's a story that encapsulates a moment in history when the world stood on the brink of new frontiers, both technological and existential. It reflects the anxieties of the early Cold War era, the fascination with space, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and the ever-present tension between official narratives and public perception. It highlights the human desire to seek out the unknown, to question, and to wonder about what lies beyond our everyday experiences. For some, Roswell represents the greatest government cover-up of all time, a suppressed encounter with beings from another world. For others, it's a case study in how myths and legends can grow from misunderstandings and the human penchant for storytelling. Regardless of one's beliefs, the incident continues to captivate the imagination, prompting us to ponder profound questions about secrecy, truth, and our place in the cosmos. In the summer of 1952, the nation's capital became the stage for one of the most remarkable UFO incidents in history, a series of events that would not only capture public attention but also deeply unsettle military and government officials. It all began on the night of July 19th, when radar operators at Washington National Airport picked up several unidentified blips moving in ways that defied conventional aircraft behavior. These objects darted across the screen at incredible speeds, changing direction abruptly, then slowing down, only to accelerate again, as if they were playing a game in the skies above the city. The radar operators, seasoned professionals used to monitoring routine air traffic, knew immediately that what they were seeing was anything but routine. They contacted Andrews Air Force Base, where radar operators there confirmed that they too were tracking the strange objects. What followed was a tense period of observation as these unidentified flying objects continued their erratic movements over the most secure and politically significant airspace in the United States. The operators watched in a mixture of fascination and unease, fully aware of the implications of what they were witnessing. This was not just a matter of public curiosity. The potential threat was real. Washington, D.C., the heart of the nation's government, was being overflown by objects that could not be identified or explained. The military responded by scrambling fighter jets to intercept the intruders, but each time the jets approached, the objects seemed to vanish, only to reappear as soon as the fighters left the area. This strange game of cat and mouse continued throughout the night, frustrating the pilots and leaving the ground crews bewildered. The inability to catch up with or even get a clear visual on the objects only added to the sense of urgency and confusion. Word of the incident quickly spread, and soon the media picked up the story. The headlines spoke of mysterious objects over the Capitol, and the public, already primed by previous UFO reports, reacted with a mix of fear and fascination. Were these objects foreign aircraft, new Soviet technology, or something else entirely? The possibility that these might be visitors from another world could no longer be dismissed out of hand, especially given the number of credible witnesses involved, from radar operators to pilots to military officials. The sightings didn't end with that one night. A week later, on July 26th, the objects returned, and this time they were seen by even more witnesses, including commercial airline pilots and passengers. The strange lights danced in the night sky, sometimes forming patterns, sometimes moving independently. Radar operators once again tracked their movements, and once again, fighter jets were scrambled, only to find themselves chasing ghosts. The inability to intercept or even identify these objects added to the growing anxiety. It was as if something or someone was testing the defenses of the most powerful nation on Earth, and that nation was finding itself at a loss. In response to the growing public concern and media coverage, the Air Force held a press conference on July 29th, the largest since World War II, to address the incident. Major General John Samford, the director of Air Force Intelligence, attempted to reassure the public. He suggested that the radar blips might have been caused by a temperature inversion, a weather phenomenon that could create false radar images. While this explanation was technically plausible, it did little to satisfy those who had seen the objects with their own eyes, or those who were aware of the jet's failed attempts to intercept the mysterious visitors. Behind closed doors, the incident was taken very seriously. The CIA became involved, concerned that the sightings and the public's reaction could lead to mass hysteria, which in turn could create vulnerabilities in national security. This was during the height of the Cold War, after all, and any perceived weakness or distraction could be exploited by adversaries. The Washington, D.C. incident led directly to the formation of the Robertson Panel, a group of scientists and intelligence officials tasked with reviewing the UFO phenomenon and making recommendations on how to handle it. For those who were directly involved, the radar operators, the pilots, the military officials, the incident left a lasting impression. They had witnessed something inexplicable, something that defied all their training and experience. Even if the official explanation of temperature inversions provided a convenient answer, it couldn't erase the memories of those nights when the skies over Washington, D.C. were filled with lights and blips that seemed to move with a purpose all their own. The Washington, D.C. UFO incident of 1952 remains one of the most compelling and mysterious events in the history of UFO sightings. It's a story that challenges our understanding of what is possible and forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that there are still phenomena in this world, and perhaps beyond it, that we cannot fully explain. For those who witnessed it, the incident was a brush with the unknown, a moment when the familiar and the extraordinary collided in the most unexpected of places. When J. Allen Hynek, an astronomer with a reputation for skepticism, was first approached to assist with the Air Force's investigation into UFOs, he saw it as a straightforward task rooted in science. He was brought on as a consultant for Project Sign, and later Project Blue Book, with the primary goal of explaining away the sightings as natural phenomena or misidentified man-made objects. Hynek, a man of science, was convinced that with enough scrutiny, every UFO report could be reduced to something mundane. He approached each case with the intent to debunk, confident that logic and reason would prevail over what he considered to be flights of fancy. In the early years of his involvement, Hynek was quick to attribute sightings to common misperceptions. Venus glowing brightly in the night sky, weather balloons reflecting sunlight, or birds caught in peculiar lighting. He crafted explanations that fit within the boundaries of known science, often dismissing the more bizarre aspects of reports as exaggerations or misunderstandings. His initial stance was in line with the Air Force's desire to quell public concern by offering reasonable explanations, and he was more than willing to play the role of the rational voice in a sea of hysteria. However, as the years passed and the reports kept coming, something began to shift in Hynek's thinking. He encountered cases that resisted easy explanation, reports from credible witnesses, pilots, radar operators, police officers, who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by coming forward. These were not the easily dismissed sightings of distant lights or fuzzy shapes. They were detailed accounts of objects that moved in ways that defied the laws of physics, of encounters that left physical traces, of events witnessed by multiple people simultaneously across different locations. Hynek found himself increasingly troubled by the accumulation of cases that defied conventional explanation. He began to realize that his initial approach, while scientifically rigorous, might have been too dismissive. The more he investigated, the more he encountered phenomena that seemed to suggest something far more complex and mysterious was at work. His role as a debunker began to evolve into that of an investigator genuinely curious about the nature of these events. One of the turning points in Hynek's perspective came with the investigation of the Washington, D.C. UFO incident in 1952. The sheer scale of the event, with multiple radar confirmations and eyewitness accounts, made it impossible to simply wave away as misidentifications or hoaxes. It was clear to Hynek that something significant had occurred, something that conventional explanations couldn't fully account for. This incident, among others, planted seeds of doubt in his once steadfast skepticism. As he continued his work, Hynek started to voice his growing concerns and changing views, much to the discomfort of his colleagues in the Air Force. He began to publicly acknowledge that while many sightings could indeed be explained by natural phenomena or human error, there was a small percentage that remained truly unexplained, and these deserved serious scientific inquiry. This shift in perspective marked a significant departure from his earlier stance, where he had largely aligned with the Air Force's goal of minimizing public interest in UFOs. Hynek's transformation from skeptic to open-minded investigator culminated in his later years when he became a vocal advocate for the study of UFOs. He developed the Close Encounter Classification System, which became a foundational tool for UFO researchers, distinguishing between different types of encounters based on the proximity and nature of the sighting. This system reflected Hynek's belief that the phenomenon deserved a more structured and systematic approach, one that recognized the complexity and potential significance of the unexplained cases. His journey was one of intellectual humility, a willingness to change one's views in the face of compelling evidence. Hynek's shift in perspective also highlighted the challenges of maintaining scientific integrity while navigating the expectations of a government intent on controlling the narrative. He went from being a tool in the Air Force's efforts to debunk UFOs to becoming one of the most respected voices advocating for their serious study. For Hynek, the involvement in Project Blue Book was not just a professional endeavor, but a personal journey into the unknown. It forced him to confront the limits of human understanding and to acknowledge that, despite our advances in science and technology, there were still mysteries that eluded explanation. His evolving perspective became a symbol of the broader struggle to reconcile the unexplained with the known, to remain open to possibilities that lie beyond our current comprehension. In the end, J. Allen Hynek's legacy is not just as a scientist who studied UFOs, but as a thinker who dared to let his mind be changed by the evidence before him. As the investigations into UFO phenomena deepened, the reliance on human testimony began to intertwine with the cold, unyielding precision of technology. Radar systems, designed to track aircraft and ensure the safety of the skies, found themselves detecting objects that defied conventional explanation. These mysterious blips on the screen weren't just fleeting. They moved with erratic patterns, speeds, and altitudes that no known aircraft could achieve. The radar operators, trained to interpret these signals with an exacting eye, often found themselves questioning the reality of what they were seeing. It was as though the machines, devoid of bias, were witnessing something beyond the ordinary, something that left even the most seasoned professionals with more questions than answers. In parallel, photographic evidence began to surface, adding another layer to the growing enigma. Unlike the fleeting nature of eyewitness accounts, photographs offered something tangible, a visual record that could be scrutinized, analyzed, and debated. These images, often grainy and blurred, captured shapes and lights in the sky that seemed to exist in a realm between the known and the unknown. They provided a glimpse into a world that eluded easy explanation, challenging the boundaries of human understanding. Yet, as compelling as these pieces of evidence were, they also introduced a new level of complexity. Radar readings could be misinterpreted, explained away as glitches or atmospheric anomalies. Photographs could be doctored, or the phenomena they captured could be dismissed as reflections, birds, or even weather balloons. The very tools that were meant to bring clarity to the investigations often muddied the waters further, leaving those involved in Project Blue Book to grapple with the frustration of chasing shadows. For those who worked tirelessly on these cases, the evidence was both a blessing and a curse. It provided a foundation upon which to build hypotheses, but it also highlighted the limits of what could be known. Each radar blip and photograph was a reminder of the vastness of the unknown, a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit into the larger picture. It was in these moments of uncertainty that the true nature of the investigation revealed itself, not as a quest for definitive answers, but as a journey into the heart of mystery, where the boundaries between reality and imagination blurred, and where every discovery led to new, uncharted territory. In the quiet of the early morning, or just as the sun begins to set, the atmosphere sometimes plays tricks on our senses. Imagine standing outside, the air around you cooling rapidly as the day transitions to night. Usually, the temperature drops steadily as you move higher into the atmosphere, but there are moments when this pattern is unexpectedly reversed. Instead of cooler air aloft, a warm layer settles above the cooler air near the ground, creating an inversion. This phenomenon, while invisible to the naked eye, has profound effects on the world around us. As the warm air traps the cooler air beneath it, it forms a kind of atmospheric lid, altering how sound travels, how light bends, and even how radar systems perceive objects in the sky. The temperature inversion can cause distant objects, including lights or even aircraft, to appear closer and more elevated than they truly are. This distortion, known as a mirage, isn't just an optical illusion. It's a tangible reminder of how the natural world can deceive us. Radar beams, normally slicing through the atmosphere in predictable ways, can be bent by this inversion, leading to false readings or the detection of objects that don't exist in the way they seem. For those caught in this atmospheric trickery, the experience can be unsettling. It's as though the very air has conspired to create illusions, turning the familiar into the strange. A pilot might report seeing another aircraft at an impossible altitude, or a radar operator could be puzzled by an object that seems to defy the laws of physics. These moments of confusion are a stark reminder of the delicate balance that governs our environment, and how easily that balance can be tipped, leaving us questioning what is real and what is simply a product of nature's subtle, yet powerful, forces. When word of UFO sightings began to spread, it was as if a spark had been struck in the collective imagination. People, already living in a world of rapid change and uncertainty, found themselves captivated by the possibility of something entirely beyond their understanding. Stories of strange lights in the sky, of objects moving with impossible speed and agility, began to circulate not just in small towns, but across the country. The idea that we might not be alone in the universe touched something deep within, a mixture of fear and wonder that resonated with almost everyone. As reports of these encounters grew more frequent, the media took hold of the narrative, amplifying the mystery. Headlines screamed of unidentified flying objects, of military pilots chasing elusive crafts, of witnesses describing things that defied all logic. Newspapers and radio broadcasts brought these stories into homes, turning the unknown into a topic of dinner table conversation. People who had never before considered the possibility of extraterrestrial life began to wonder if, perhaps, the truth really was out there. The media, in its relentless quest for stories that would capture the public's attention, sometimes added to the confusion, blurring the lines between fact and speculation. For those who had experienced these phenomena firsthand, the public's fascination could be a double-edged sword. Some found comfort in knowing they were not alone in their experiences, while others faced skepticism and ridicule. The witnesses' accounts were often dissected in the court of public opinion, their credibility questioned, their sanity doubted. The media, in its hunger for sensational stories, sometimes painted these individuals as either heroes or lunatics, depending on what would sell more papers or draw more listeners. Yet, amidst the sensationalism, there was also a genuine curiosity, a shared sense of awe that united people across different walks of life. The possibility that these sightings could be evidence of something extraordinary, something not of this earth, was both thrilling and terrifying. It tapped into deep-seated hopes and fears, playing on the desire for answers in a world that often seemed to offer none. And so, the public and the media together became part of the story, each fueling the other's interest, each feeding off the sense of mystery that hung like a shroud over these unexplained events. In a way, the reaction to UFO reports became a reflection of our own struggles with the unknown, a mirror showing us how we grapple with the things we cannot fully understand. Behind the closed doors of government offices, a delicate dance unfolded between secrecy and the public's right to know. As reports of UFO sightings multiplied, so too did the rumors of hidden files, secret investigations, and knowledge that was being deliberately withheld from the public eye. For those who trusted in the institutions meant to protect them, the notion that information could be hidden felt like a betrayal. The government, with its vast resources and access to intelligence, was supposed to be the guardian of truth, yet whispers of cover-ups and classified documents suggested otherwise. This tension was not just about the UFOs themselves, but about something deeper, a struggle over who controls information and how much of that information the public deserves to know. For those within the government, the decision to keep certain details under wraps was often framed as a matter of national security. The fear that widespread panic could ensue if the truth were fully revealed, or that adversaries might exploit any uncertainty, provided a rationale for maintaining secrecy. But for the average citizen, such justifications often rang hollow, sounding more like excuses than legitimate reasons. The more the government sought to control the narrative, the more people began to question what was being hidden and why. This growing mistrust was fueled by the occasional slip of information, a leaked document, a former official speaking out after retirement, or an unexplained redaction in a declassified report. Each piece of the puzzle that surfaced only seemed to deepen the mystery, rather than resolve it. For the public, it was like trying to piece together a picture with most of the pieces missing, while the government held the rest of the puzzle tightly in its grasp. The frustration of being kept in the dark, of knowing that answers might exist but were just out of reach, created a simmering resentment. As the years passed, calls for transparency grew louder, with many demanding that the government finally come clean about what it knew. The tension between secrecy and transparency became a focal point for broader discussions about power, trust, and the responsibilities of those in authority. It wasn't just about UFOs anymore. It was about whether the institutions designed to serve the people were actually doing so. In the end, the issue of government secrecy became a symbol of the larger struggle for truth in a world where the line between reality and deception often seemed blurred, and where the public's hunger for answers clashed with the state's desire to maintain control. When the decision was finally made to declassify the files of Project Blue Book, it marked the end of an era shrouded in secrecy and speculation. For years, the files had been the subject of intense curiosity, their contents rumored to hold the answers to some of the most baffling questions about UFOs and extraterrestrial life. The declassification process was, in many ways, a response to growing public pressure, a recognition that the government's silence could no longer be sustained in the face of widespread demand for transparency. As the files became available to the public, the anticipation was palpable. People from all walks of life, from seasoned researchers to casual enthusiasts, pored over the documents, searching for the truths they had long suspected were being hidden. Each page turned was an invitation into the inner workings of the government's investigations, revealing the painstaking efforts to categorize and explain the myriad of sightings that had been reported over the years. But as the files were studied, the reality of what they contained was both enlightening and, for some, disappointing. There were no definitive answers, no smoking guns that confirmed or denied the existence of extraterrestrial visitors. Instead, the files presented a complex picture of diligent investigation, bureaucratic challenges, and a government caught between the need to address public fears and the limitations of contemporary science. For many, the declassification was a bittersweet moment. It offered a glimpse behind the curtain, but also underscored the limitations of what could be known. The documents detailed cases that had been exhaustively studied, with explanations ranging from the mundane to the perplexing. But alongside these explanations were also the admissions of uncertainty, cases that remained unexplained, anomalies that defied the best efforts of investigators. The declassification did not so much close the book on the mystery as it did pass the torch to the public, inviting anyone with the interest and determination to sift through the evidence and draw their own conclusions. In the end, the declassification of Project Blue Book's files served as a reminder of the complexity of the unknown. It showed that, even with the best tools and minds at their disposal, the government had not been able to solve every mystery. But more importantly, it opened up a conversation that had been stifled for too long, allowing people to engage with the material directly and make up their own minds about what it all meant. It was a moment of empowerment for a public that had long felt left out, an acknowledgement that the pursuit of truth is a shared endeavor, one that transcends the boundaries of secrecy and invites everyone to take part. Within the halls of academia, where evidence is the currency of truth, the subject of UFOs was often met with skepticism, if not outright dismissal. Scientists, trained to demand rigorous proof and repeatable results, found themselves uneasy with the nebulous nature of UFO reports. These accounts, often based on fleeting observations and unreliable testimonies, didn't fit neatly into the framework of empirical study. For many in the scientific community, the lack of concrete, reproducible evidence made the subject feel more like a curiosity than a legitimate field of inquiry. This skepticism wasn't born out of arrogance or a refusal to explore the unknown. It was rooted in a deep respect for the scientific method. The reports of strange lights in the sky and unexplained aerial phenomena, while intriguing, lacked the verifiable data needed to draw meaningful conclusions. Scientists who dared to engage with the topic often found themselves navigating a minefield, where the line between serious investigation and fringe science was dangerously thin. There was a fear, perhaps unspoken but deeply felt, that associating with the study of UFOs could tarnish a researcher's reputation, aligning them with the speculative rather than the substantive. Yet, even within this atmosphere of caution, there were those who saw the potential value in studying these phenomena. They argued that dismissing the subject outright was itself unscientific, that true inquiry required an open mind, even in the face of uncertainty. But these voices were often drowned out by a broader consensus that UFOs, as fascinating as they might be, did not warrant the same level of attention as more established fields of study. The lack of hard evidence, combined with the sensationalism often associated with UFO reports, made it difficult for the subject to gain a foothold in the scientific community. For the public, the skepticism from scientists could be both frustrating and disheartening. It seemed as though the very people best equipped to investigate these mysteries were turning their backs on them. But for scientists, the issue was more complex. It wasn't just a matter of belief or disbelief. It was about the integrity of the process by which we come to know the world. Without clear, objective evidence, many felt they had no choice but to remain on the sidelines, watching as the debate unfolded in other arenas. The skepticism from the scientific community was less a rejection of the possibility of the unknown and more a reflection of the high standards to which they held their work. A reminder that in the pursuit of knowledge, certainty is hard-won and often elusive. The end of Project Blue Book did not close the door on the study of UFOs. Rather, it left behind a legacy that would ripple through the years, influencing how the phenomena were approached and understood. The meticulous records, the categorized cases, and the rigorous investigations formed a foundation upon which modern UFO studies would build. For those who came after, the lessons of Project Blue Book were both a guide and a warning. It showed the importance of methodical investigation, the necessity of separating the signal from the noise, and the challenges of navigating a subject that exists at the fringes of scientific inquiry. In many ways, the project laid the groundwork for how modern researchers approach the unknown. It demonstrated the value of a systematic approach, where each report is treated with careful consideration, weighed against known phenomena before being filed away as unexplained. The influence of Blue Book can be seen in the way current studies continue to categorize sightings, draw upon multiple sources of evidence, and involve a range of experts, from pilots to radar operators to scientists. Even as technology has advanced, providing tools that the original Blue Book investigators could only dream of, the core principles of thoroughness and skepticism remain. But the legacy of Project Blue Book is not just about its influence on methodology. It's also about the cultural and psychological impact it had on society. The project, with its government backing and serious approach, lent a sense of legitimacy to a topic that had long been relegated to the realm of science fiction. It fueled a generation's imagination, embedding the idea of UFOs into the public consciousness in a way that would endure for decades. Modern UFO studies, whether conducted by private researchers or new government initiatives, are still chasing the questions that Blue Book sought to answer. What are these unidentified objects, and what do they mean for our understanding of the universe? For many, the influence of Blue Book extends beyond the specifics of its investigations. It represents a commitment to seeking the truth, even when the truth is elusive. The project's final conclusions may have been inconclusive, but they underscore the importance of asking difficult questions and pursuing answers, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient they might be. In this way, Project Blue Book has left an indelible mark on the field of UFO studies, serving as both a historical artifact and a continuing inspiration for those who refuse to let the mystery of the skies go unexplored. As Project Blue Book became a part of public consciousness, it was inevitable that its influence would extend beyond government files and investigative reports, seeping into the world of fiction. The mysteries, the unanswered questions, and the tantalizing glimpses of the unknown provided fertile ground for storytellers who saw in Blue Book a rich source of inspiration. What began as a serious government investigation into unidentified flying objects transformed into a wellspring of creative narratives, each one exploring the possibilities that lay hidden within the project's pages. In the hands of writers and filmmakers, Project Blue Book became the backdrop for stories that ranged from the eerily plausible to the fantastically speculative. It wasn't just the facts and figures that captured their imaginations, but the very essence of the unknown. The sense that there were things out there that defied explanation. These fictional adaptations often played on the idea of hidden truths and government cover-ups, creating narratives where intrepid investigators or everyday citizens stumbled upon secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. The tension between what was known and what was concealed, so central to the real Project Blue Book, became a recurring theme in these stories. For audiences, these fictional adaptations served as a way to engage with the mystery in a more personal, emotionally resonant way. Where the official reports might have been dry and methodical, the stories that sprang from Blue Book's legacy were filled with drama, intrigue, and the human element that so often gets lost in the pages of official documentation. Characters based loosely on the real investigators became heroes in their own right, battling not just the unknown, but also the bureaucratic forces that sought to keep it hidden. The sense of wonder and fear that surrounded UFOs in the public mind found new life in these adaptations, giving form to the anxieties and hopes that people felt but could not always express. Over time, Project Blue Book became a symbol in fiction, not just of UFO investigations, but of the broader human quest for understanding. It represented the collision between the mundane and the extraordinary, the point at which ordinary life intersects with the inexplicable. In these fictional worlds, the legacy of Blue Book was not just a government project but a narrative device that allowed storytellers to explore the boundaries of reality and imagination. Each adaptation, whether it took the form of a novel, a film, or a television series, was a reflection of the deep cultural impact that the project had, showing how a real-world investigation could inspire countless imagined ones, each one adding to the mythology that Project Blue Book helped create. In recent years, the government's interest in unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, has re-emerged, capturing the public's attention in a way reminiscent of the days of Project Blue Book. But this time, there's a sense that the stakes are higher, the technology more advanced, and the need for answers more pressing. What was once relegated to the margins of official concern has now found its way back into serious discussions, driven by a combination of credible sightings, sophisticated radar data, and the undeniable presence of objects that defy easy explanation. This renewed interest isn't just about the phenomena themselves, but about what they represent in a world that has grown increasingly interconnected and technologically advanced. In the past, unexplained sightings could be dismissed as misidentifications or the result of limited information. But today, the sheer volume and consistency of reports have forced a reconsideration. High-ranking officials, military pilots, and radar operators have come forward with accounts that challenge the conventional wisdom, describing encounters with objects that exhibit capabilities far beyond known human technology. These reports have prompted the government to take a more transparent approach, acknowledging the existence of UAPs and the need to investigate them with the seriousness they deserve. For those within the government, the resurgence of interest in UAPs is both a challenge and an opportunity. On one hand, there is the recognition that these phenomena could have implications for national security, particularly if they represent advanced technology from a foreign adversary. On the other hand, there's the tantalizing possibility that these objects might offer insights into realms of science and technology that humanity has yet to explore. The mystery of UAPs has reignited a sense of curiosity, a desire to push the boundaries of what we know and to confront the unknown with the tools of modern science. Yet, this modern inquiry is tempered by the lessons of the past. There is a cautiousness now, a recognition that the quest for understanding must be balanced with transparency and public engagement. The government's approach has shifted from one of dismissal and secrecy to one of cautious acknowledgement, with reports and findings being shared more openly than ever before. This transparency is a nod to the public's right to know, but it's also an acknowledgement that the phenomena themselves demand a more collaborative approach. Scientists, military personnel, and the public are all part of this modern investigation, each contributing to the effort to unravel the mystery of UAPs. The government's renewed focus on UAPs reflects a broader cultural shift, one that recognizes the importance of exploring the unknown with an open mind. It's a reminder that even in an age of rapid technological advancement, there are still mysteries that elude us, still questions that defy easy answers. The modern interest in UAPs is not just a continuation of past investigations. It's a reflection of humanity's enduring curiosity, our willingness to confront the unknown, and our recognition that the pursuit of knowledge is a journey without end. As the pages of Project Blue Book turned, what began as a government initiative to investigate unidentified flying objects became something far more significant in the minds of the public. The program, with its blend of scientific inquiry and military oversight, inadvertently fueled the imagination of countless individuals. Each investigation, whether it led to a mundane explanation or remained an enigma, left an imprint on the collective consciousness. The very act of the government taking these reports seriously, even if only to dismiss them, validated a notion that had long lingered in the shadows of human curiosity: the possibility that we might not be alone in the universe. When people heard about sightings and incidents through media reports or whispers among their communities, a subtle shift occurred. These stories, backed by the authority of government involvement, transformed from mere curiosities into something that felt tangible, possible, and, for many, undeniably real. The Roswell incident, with its blend of military secrecy and leaked information, became the catalyst for a growing belief in extraterrestrial life. The idea that the government might be hiding something significant only deepened the intrigue, creating an atmosphere where speculation flourished. The impact of Project Blue Book on public belief wasn't just about the evidence, or lack thereof, but about the emotional and psychological responses it elicited. People wanted to believe. The idea that there could be other intelligent beings out there, visiting our planet, resonated with a deep-seated desire for connection and discovery. It was a narrative that offered excitement, mystery, and a break from the ordinary. For some, it was a way to challenge the boundaries of what they had been taught to accept as reality, while for others, it offered a comforting thought that humanity was part of a larger cosmic story. As the years passed, even as skepticism from the scientific community persisted, the seed planted by Project Blue Book grew. The declassification of the files added fuel to the fire, offering a treasure trove of information for enthusiasts and researchers alike. Every unexplained case became a focal point for debates, documentaries, and discussions. The absence of definitive proof did not diminish belief. Rather, it reinforced the allure of the unknown. It was the mystery itself that captivated the public, allowing belief in extraterrestrial life to transition from fringe speculation to a more mainstream consideration. In the end, Project Blue Book left a legacy not only in the realm of UFO studies, but in the hearts and minds of millions. It shaped public belief in extraterrestrial life by creating a bridge between the unimaginable and the possible. The files, the reports, the witnesses, all became part of a larger narrative that continues to influence how we view the skies above and the potential for life beyond our own planet. In the unfolding drama of unexplained aerial phenomena, The debate over extraterrestrial versus conventional explanations has always been a deeply human one, reflecting our instinctive need to make sense of the unknown. On one side, there are those who look to the sky with a sense of wonder, their imagination sparked by the idea that life beyond Earth might be responsible for these sightings. For them, each unidentified object carries the potential to rewrite our understanding of existence. The extraterrestrial hypothesis, with its promise of contact with beings from distant worlds, taps into an ancient yearning for connection with something greater, something that challenges the boundaries of human experience. On the other side of the debate are those who approach these phenomena with a grounded, often skeptical mindset. To them, the idea that these sightings could be explained by advanced technology, atmospheric conditions, or even misidentified natural occurrences is far more plausible. This perspective is rooted in a trust in established scientific principles, a belief that with enough investigation, every mystery can be unraveled using the tools and knowledge at our disposal. They see the extraterrestrial hypothesis as a leap too far, a step beyond what the evidence can support, preferring explanations that fit within the known framework of the world. The tension between these two viewpoints is more than just a difference of opinion. It's a reflection of how people approach the unknown. For some, the mystery itself is a doorway to new possibilities, and the extraterrestrial explanation represents a bold step into uncharted territory. For others, the unknown is a challenge to be met with reason and logic, a puzzle that must be solved within the confines of our current understanding. As reports and investigations continue, each side gathers its evidence, bolstering its case with facts, testimonies, and theories. Those inclined to believe in extraterrestrial involvement often cite the cases that defy easy explanation, where radar data, credible witnesses, and unexplained phenomena converge in ways that conventional science struggles to address. Meanwhile, skeptics point to instances of hoaxes, misidentifications, and natural phenomena that have been mistaken for something otherworldly, arguing that these are proof that the truth is far more mundane than the more fantastical interpretations suggest. Yet, beneath this debate lies a shared human experience, the awe of the unknown. Whether one leans toward extraterrestrial or conventional explanations, there is a common thread of curiosity, a desire to understand what we see and what it might mean. The debate is less about proving one side right and more about the journey of discovery, the process of grappling with the limits of our knowledge and the possibilities that lie just beyond it. In this way, the discussion is a mirror reflecting the dual aspects of human nature: the drive to explore and the need to explain. As long as there are unexplained sightings, this debate will continue, fueled by the same curiosity that has always pushed humanity to look up at the stars and wonder. As we close the files on Project Blue Book, we find ourselves left with more questions than answers, a fitting end to a story that has captivated imaginations for decades. The skies above remain as mysterious as ever, filled with possibilities that challenge our understanding of the universe. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. If you enjoyed this journey through the unknown, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new to Quiet Universe, make sure to subscribe and join us as we continue to explore the fascinating, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Until next time, keep looking up. You never know what you might see.